coming all the way from Boston, so we're really lucky to have her.
Oh,
Well, it wouldn't do me any good to come halfway.
Yeah, so just to let you, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Let's give her a...
Did everybody get a survey to fill out? That would be good if you did.
Everybody have one?
No, Sophie needs one. Thank you. I took my notes out from the talk I gave at MIT, and I started out by saying today is International Women's Day, but today isn't International Women's Day. Do you know what today is?
International Men's Day.
Oh, good idea though. We just had Halloween, and then the 1st of November is All Saints Day. That's where you get the Hallowed Eve thing.
Oh, okay.
And then November 1st is All Saints Day, when everybody is supposed to pray for saints, which doesn't make any sense to me because, I mean, they've already, I mean, they're saints. So why do they need any help from me? But my favorite day is November 2nd, which is All Souls Day, which is when everybody is supposed to pray for people like me and ordinary people who maybe need a little more help in the goodness department. Anyway, so when I gave this talk at MIT, it was also Brain Awareness Month, Brain Injury Awareness Month. It's a good idea to be aware of your brain though anyway. And I understand that some people here are interested in brain injury. Yes? 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 Yay! Well, me too. I was injured so long ago. It hardly bears remembering. But I deal with the residual effects every day. And I've been part of the Brain Trust at MIT, which is where we nurtured Alyssa, and she developed the Synapse, which is here and other places. So it was a really good experience to be involved with students at MIT. But back in the beginning, when I was first injured, I was scalped when my skull was shattered, and so they had to shave off all my hair in order to reattach the scalp to my head. And so people would come to visit me, and I would tell them the Fuzzy Wuzzy poem. Y'all know the Fuzzy Wuzzy poem?
Fuzzy
Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't Fuzzy Wuzzy. And then I would laugh hysterically. And my visitors would like look at each other and maybe sneak away. But that was one of the ways that I kept myself going. And I have always thought that laughter and humor was a very important part of life because it makes me feel happy. So that's a pretty good reason. I have to check my notes. Good thing I printed it large, otherwise I have to keep changing my glasses. Then when we got me home from the hospital, I had gone down to less than 90 pounds because I couldn't stand to eat anything. And in fact, they sent a nutritionist up from the hospital kitchens to try and appetize me. And that was kind of a revelation because I didn't know I could order what I wanted. After that, I had a lot of crab salad. Anyway, when we got home, we were going to give me a bath, which let me tell you, after a couple months in bed, a bath seems like heaven. But my mother and I got me down on the bath mat, and then we were going to lift me over the edge of the tub into the water, but we were in hysterical laughter because I was all skin and bones. I could have been a walking anatomy project. It was so funny that every time we started to pick me up and I was helping, you know, with my hands, we'd end up collapsed in laughter. Well, that was a good way to do it, I think. It was more fun than the alternative. Humor used me well. When I went back to school the following semester on crutches, I had to get special permission to wear slacks. That's how long ago it was. When I was at MIT, I told an engineer joke, but this isn't an engineering school, huh? So do we tell doctors' jokes? Is that what's
engineers.
We're pretty
No.
good at engineering here.
You want to hear the engineering joke?
Yes.
Well, it was an engineer who was working on a dissertation for a PhD, and the kids didn't believe that she had a real job. And so her son one day said, when they were out in the car, said, "Hey, you should go apply for a job at Walmart." And she said, "Well, are they hiring engineers?" And he said, "Oh yeah, they'll take anybody." So I guess it's all perspective. I want to talk about the psychology of laughter and humor, but is that the same thing or is it different? We have two different words. Actually, most of the time when people talk about studying humor, they're actually talking about studying laughter, because humor occurs inside the psyche, and so it's hard to quantify. Whereas laughter is usually felt and acknowledged by everybody around. The wonderful thing about laughter is when we hear somebody else laugh, sometimes that's enough to make us think something funny is going on, and we start laughing too, even when we don't know what it was that made the other people laugh. And we know that our own experience, that there's a lot of physical manifestations of laughter. You get vocalizations and spasmic contractions and deep breathing and heightened attention, and it feels good, which is the part I like. Scientific study confirms that our spirits are lifted, especially by the release of endorphins, and endorphins, then you know, decrease pain and increase pleasure. And the lowering of stress by decreasing cortisol. and norepinephrine. You all know what that says, right? And the secretion of dopamine. And the VTA accumbens pathway, which goes to the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is clearly stimulated by laughter because they know that from functional MRIs. And the amygdala is considered the emotional center, yet isn't that usually fight, flight, or freeze emotions? Anger and fear. Well, it turns out it's also responsible for curiosity. So that's intriguing. And the dopamine must be having a positive effect. There, as well as in the accumbens, which is the center of pleasure. Laughter brings an increase in antibodies and T cells. This isn't working. Maybe I'm not working it well. That's better. Now all we have to worry about is my crummy penmanship. So that's all good stuff. The interesting thing is that we benefit from these chemical advantages even if we laugh and we don't know why, or even if we laugh forced laughter. The body still responds with these marvelous life-enhancing chemicals, as well as the feeling good part, which you can tell for yourself. Anyway, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to turn to the person next to you and shake hands and look them in the eye and laugh. Okay, go. Okay, now turn the other direction.
Watch out, you're in trouble. The two of them are trouble. I did training session on Sunday.
And practice really makes perfect. You might feel that it's forced or it's phony, but who cares if you're getting all these terrific benefits? And what you'll find is the more you do that, the more you laugh for no reason, the more you'll find things funny for a good reason. And the easier it gets to laugh. They have laughter clubs these days. They have something called laughter yoga. And people get together and they just laugh. And it starts out, you might feel a little bit weird, but once they get into it, they all end up feeling terrific. And so I recommend that everybody laugh, whether they have a good reason or not. This is the book I wrote. And I don't drag a bunch of copies around with me. Okay. Because it's available on Amazon, so, anybody can get it. And I'm happy to sign copies for you if you have them, or you can go to the website that I set up and request a book plate. I'll send you one signed to whoever you want. Anyway, I really talked about the psychology of humor here. I didn't include that thing I just gave you about laughter. But the psychology of humor is of interest to me because not too many people spend very much attention on it. Like, what is humor? And why do we laugh at some things and not at other things? And all that stuff that I put in the survey.
Laughter is what creates a positive sense of life itself.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. I like that.
I believe it very much. I'm lucky to be here.
And we're lucky to have you here.
Thank you.
It's true though, laughter helps get us over the bumps. That's really true. My own personal take on it is that humor is the celebration of imperfection. And if we celebrate bad things, that goes beyond just tolerate them. But if we really engage in all the facets of creation, which there's some good things and there's some bad things all the time, and you don't very often have perfect, so it's good if you can celebrate imperfection.
I would hate to be perfect. That'd be boring.
Okay. I wouldn't mind trying it once in a while.
Well, that's when we laugh. Because we try it.
It's true, and then we end up falling over our own feet. Sometimes increased lability is a symptom of brain injury. Lability is an emotional vacillation. I had a friend who had a brain injury, and he would cry at any movie. Didn't matter what it was. But he also laughed a whole lot too. And his doctor kept saying, we should put you on a medication to decrease your lability. He said, why? He said, I love it. He used to laugh all the time. You'd carry on a conversation with him and he would start giggling. It was great. I've worked a lot with elders, and one of the things that we know about degeneration is that the memory may be impaired, the cognitive memory, but affective memory may still be strong. So when I work with elders, they may forget later on in the day what they laughed about, or even if they laughed, but their heightened sense of well-being persists. So I've had staff come to me and say, you know, it's so much easier to take care of these people since you've been coming. Yes! Happy people are easier to take care of. So that's something to keep in mind, is that when we do laugh, the affective benefit lingers longer than just the memory. It's good to remember. So I asked Patch Adams, what is humor? Y'all know Patch Adams? Did you see
Yes.
the movie?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the movie is a Hollywoodization, but Patch is really a great guy, and he really does a lot of great things. He takes clowning into all sorts of situations all around the world, and makes people laugh. So I did a workshop on clinical clowning at Tufts Medical School in Boston, and then Patch was there. He was going to talk to the people to the medical students about donating to the free hospital that he has in West Virginia. But like he said to me, he said, I never thought I'd be a fundraiser, and I'm not very good at it. But, I mean, if you're going to ask medical students for money, that's kind of that's a no-starter, so to speak. Anyway, so I said to him, what is humor? And he said, who cares? It's a baby's laughter. It's a sunrise. It's, he just got euphoric about it. But I thought it would be good to check out and see what humor really is and how it comes to have the form that we see it in our daily lives. So I put a little model together. Those are 3 balances, I guess, to represent 3 ingredients. Now, which is the one that works? I just dropped it. Let's call this top one identity. When we think something is funny, we have to identify with the fool. I'm proud to be a fool. You may have noticed my my flag, which is usually it creates a more positive reaction when I'm overseas than it does stateside. Overseas, people come up to me and they offer their condolences. They're very sweet. But I'm proud of being a fool, and I do a pretty good job of it. But I'm not fond of competition from the president. Anyway, I'm proud to be an American. That's part of who I am too. And we will weather this. We will keep laughing when we can, and all things come to an end, right? Anyway, identity. We identify with the fool of the joke. If we don't have some kind of resonance with them, then we don't find the joke funny. So in a very real sense, we're laughing at ourselves. When you tell a joke about some poor fool who XYZ, you have to imagine what that would be like if it was you. And that's what brings it to life and makes it funny. Part of what brings it to life. The second one that I'm going to talk about is imagery. And that's like the ability to imagine things, the ability to picture things in your mind. For example, a little kid might not appreciate that I'm putting mittens on my feet and socks on my hands. A really little baby it's just like so. Whereas a 3 or a 5-year-old might think that's hilarious. because they know enough to get the joke. Whereas a 10-year-old is gonna say, that's stupid. Because they're beyond that. They've learned more. So that has to do with imagery. And then the bottom one is gonna be what I call invulnerability. Throughout life, we carry a sense of that things are going to be okay, and when we cross the street, hopefully we look both ways, but still a car could come out of nowhere, but we continue with our life, and we continue crossing streets because we have a sense that we're going to be able to handle it. And that's invulnerability. Now, these three balances have to all be equally balanced in order for humor to occur. And they have to be balanced at the same time. So I kind of thought that if we could think of some characteristics. You're a scribe, okay? Well, you don't need your elastics, no. That's okay, that's a venom. Think of some characteristics, and we'll put them up here on the... What kind of characteristics of a person do we have? Appearance, right? That's a characteristic of a person. Because each person's sense of humor, I didn't say this part in the right order, each person's sense of humor is as valid and unique as they are. It's like your sense of beauty. Like people don't say, you have a lousy sense of beauty, right? Because what you think looks nice to you. And humor is the same way. It's really everybody's sense of humor is valid for them. So somebody put appearance down, or looks. That would work better, huh? Thank you. Maybe this has to do with somebody's sense of identity. How you look, I mean, that's going to include what color you are and what color your hair is and whether you have glasses and whether you look in the mirror and like it or you wish you had a different look. I just was thinking about appearances, and but I was on my way to meet with a group of elders in a nursing home, and I was lost. This was before GPS. Imagine that. And I stopped at a coffee shop in Dorchester to ask directions. And I walked into the coffee shop, and everybody was black there, and the wait people were all black. And I walked up to the counter, and I was dressed modestly, you know, as usual. And the woman at the counter said, "Oh, you're so colorful." And I said, "And so are you." And the whole place laughed, which was lucky. But, I think everything about ourselves can go up here. What are some other things that we might have about where we're from? You haven't thought.
Personality.
Well, yeah, what about a personality?
How silly you are. How friendly you are.
Yeah. Friendly. Where you're from. How about how helpful you are?
How helpful.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to say that some of these are positive or some are negative, but some might balance in one direction or another. It's staying in balance. Does that mean everything's funny? That'll be okay. What else do we have for characteristics? How about height? Height. We have height. Now I'm going to put this one on the invulnerability balance because height may give somebody a better feeling of omnipotence or strength or being able to see over everybody else's head. Now, if somebody was small, maybe it would increase their sense of vulnerability. There has to be that Frisian. If the joke doesn't challenge something or contrast with your perspective, it won't be funny. There's always that little Frisian of, do you know what I'm referring to? Yeah? No? No. Oh well. Let's think of some more of these things. What will contribute to a person's sense of imagery? Their ability to imagine things. How about if they've had experience with sports? They'll be more likely to imagine a sports situation. How about if they watch movies and watch TV? If they read books? Let's write some of these down.
Big books.
I'll get movies.
Sports? Thank you. More sports. Okay. Maybe some are contact sports and some are spectator sports. Books. Books increase our ability to conceptualize. Okay, and now we need a few more for invulnerability. Let's see, if somebody is in good health, that might improve their
Sense of well-being,
yes, yes.
self-confidence.
Yes, self-confidence would be a good one. Excellent. Who's going to put self-confidence then?
Yeah, I would have to.
All right. He's been busy. Oh, all together. Okay. Well-being confidence. That sums it up pretty good. Anyway, if you can see that some of these will reinforce each other, some will be weighting things in the other direction. So the same things could have an effect on both sides. But until they're all in exactly perfect balance, humor doesn't occur. But I just thought if I made it in 3D, it would make more sense. Alyssa's read the book. You know it's hard to understand from the book.
I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you. I did try to write it without psychobabble so that anybody could understand it. But I almost did myself a disservice because people don't pay attention. They kind of read it because it's easy to read, and people get through it so easily. Next time I have to make people work at it. Get them to think more about it. Well, that copy of my book is going to be donated to Synapse, so that they'll have a copy. And my conclusion this evening is that when humor occurs, we exercise creativity, practice empathy, and then enjoy social bonding as laughter spreads. We're wiser from broadening our perspective on life and humbler as we realize once again we can always be surprised. Thank you. Now I want to do a Q&A, but first I want you to turn the survey over and write 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 on the back. And the first question is, did you learn something new tonight? And if so, what was it? And the second thing is, do you have questions that you never thought of before about humor? And if so, what are they?
Can you repeat that?
Do you have a question about humor that you didn't think of before? Does anybody else need one? And the third question is, are you going to buy the book? Yes or no? That's simple. Now, do people have questions? No, I did such a good job. All crystal clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think is the evolutionary origin of humor? Do you think animals have humor?
I don't know. I don't know if they do or if they don't. I think that all the the things that go into humor are also the things that go into building community, identifying with each other, and being able to imagine different situations, and that little startle to your sense of invulnerability. I think those all participate in building community. Do you think animals have humor?
I think so. Primates certainly.
Yes, we've heard stories about primates making jokes. That's good. Anybody else? Well, thank you so much. You've been great. And thank you for coming.